this again. So, the ultimate goal is liberation.
究竟的
And just want to remind you, liberation is fundamentally discovering the truth. 'This is something called skillful means. I don't know whether those who are new, you know this.
有一个叫做善巧方
Means, not the end. The means are very challenging. You need means, skillful means. You need that means. But we have to just always remember that's not the end. But, this is always difficult to, many times we get attracted to the means, not the end.
可是我们
Great Zen master said, looking at the finger instead of the moon.
像
So, similarly here, the liberation, the concept of liberation is painted in many, many different ways. One who is liberated is named as the Buddha. And we even have a description of what the Buddha looks like. The Buddhists say he looks amazing. But if you ask him, how? Tell us. Does it mean he has a six-packs? Broad shoulder, muscles, does he have that?
有没有
Then we hear, to begin with, he's a golden color.
那他们的回答是
Now, would you go to a date with someone who looks like gold?
你会跟
And then he has an antelope-like ankle. Antelope, like an ankle.
antelopes
Anyway, in order to make the people have attraction towards liberation, so many these kind of color and pictures are painted, and many times it works, but other times it becomes a distraction.
那为
If there is a Thai person here, a Burmese person here, it's better to speak. To them, the Buddha looks very serene, begging bowl, bare feet, begging for alms every morning. It sounds nice. If you tell them a Buddha, if you depict how the Buddha looks like, say, many of you must have been to Parping. It's a very beautiful place called Parping. And that's supposedly one of the Buddha's place. And the Buddha is a Vajra Yogini. And it's not he, it's she. And sometimes this Vajra Yogini is Vajra Varahi, pig head. You don't want to say this to the Burmese. They will have a heart attack. What kind of Buddhists are these? Generally the world, especially Asia and maybe India, very patriarchal, gender difference. Buddha has to be man, not woman.
So it's a,
Here again, I have to really express this. Always joyful to enter Kathmandu and filling up the immigration form. Gender, male, female, and other. It's so good, fantastic. Everybody must adopt this. It was particularly good yesterday when I arrived because I was just doing my Tara Sadhana. So I was try to visualize myself as Tara, which is a female. And it's so nice to I almost click to fill up the other. But then I thought maybe I will not be entering here, so. Anyway, Our aim is liberation. I will always come back to that. And liberation for now means discovering the truth.
那
Now, first, Masam Jumeshara Paruchin, the Prajana Paramita, the truth, cannot be spoken, cannot be conceptualized, cannot be, fabricated. It's beyond words, beyond language. But here, I have to be so careful, you have to pay some attention. When Buddhists talk about the truth that is inexpressible, we are not talking about an almighty sort of energy that cannot be taught. It's different. The Buddhist truth that cannot be expressed can be pointed out if you have the right person, and if you are the right person, he or she can point out and you can get the job done like this.
那可是这
You
个
understand? So it's not like some sort of a mysterious being that cannot be talked about. This is so important, so important you should tattoo it on your skin or something. You know, the New Age concepts have destroyed Buddhism 10,000 times more than the Cultural Revolution. It's energy, sort of, like inexpressible stuff.
能量
We are
啊，
not talking about that. We are talking about something so raw, something so there, here, now, that can be introduced. And there is technique that we can apply, and there are guys in this country, well, definitely in the past, just a very near past, actually, I have myself received many of these instructions from these great people who have the know-how to introduce this. And if you happen to meet some of these people, and if he or she has managed to do this, and if you can actually pay some attention, and if you clicked, your dimension will change. The way you look at things will change, at least on a superficial level, and that's already very, very good. You'll have a shift, a shift.
你会转
Can't think of a good example. I'll give you a bad example. Like someone told you, a husband that you have married 30 years, and someone told you, hey, your husband, every full moon night, tail grows from his bottom.
而且
You will have a shift towards how you look at your husband, isn't it? From now on.
让你从
Every
此
full moon, especially, you would like to sort of wait and see. And every bulging, you will doubt, maybe this is it?
那是吧
Bulging. You know what I'm talking about? A shift. Shift. That's
所以知道有没有
truth can be introduced.
实
For a very, very remote villager, Nepali or a Bhutanese,
对
those
是
who don't know what is chopstick, you give it to them. Look, this is to use to eat. That's it. From then on, that Bhutanese or the Nepali remote villager, until then they may think it's a twig to kindling to make fire. But all that concept is gone. From then on, two sticks are seen as a chopstick. Liberation. So, the truth, if you have the right condition, right teacher, everything, it can be introduced without using the words, language, examples. None of this is necessary. But you have to be very open also, of course, of course.
可是
Okay, so let's see, you and I, we don't have that kind of faculty, let's say.
可是
So for us, we need to speak.
这因此对我们来讲，我们需要用语言，
Logic, we need to
我们要
develop.
用逻辑，
So we need to construct a certain framework to establish this view. We call it tawa tenla bab, tawa tenla babi kap. We need to establish the view.
所以对我们来讲，
So this is what is going to happen. And the view, and especially the view that Buddha really, really meant it, okay, is what we are going to do next 5 days. If you are, okay, simply if you are asking what are we doing here, we are learning Buddhist view.
所以
And knowing the view, one that knows the view is what we call wisdom. View, I cannot emphasize enough. View is the most important.
那么就
It is the view that differentiates the different religion. All religions are same. People say this. It's a total bullshit. Religions are not same. Probably, superficially, there are similarities.
也许
Buddhists will say, don't steal. I'm sure the Christians will say, Muslims will say, Hindus will say, but where it is rooted, the view makes everything different. This is important. Huh? The view is, I cannot emphasize this enough.
这是
You know, there's so many misunderstandings, especially, you know, every time when I watched like BBC, you know, like so panel discussions, in the, supposedly scholars, all religions are violent. Not true. For instance, like Buddhism and Jainism, there is no reason to be violent.
也对佛
The big boss of Buddhism is the Buddha, who left everything, wife, children, palace, everything, and left. What is the reason to be violent for? Of course, Buddhists are not necessarily perfect. Like me here, I'm a very good example. So, the view is one that differentiates the religion. Not love and compassion,
不是
not some, you know, like nice behaviors. If you lost the view, let's say in the Mahayana Prajna Paramita, if you lost this, you have lost Buddhism as a Buddhist.
作为
In the Mahayana, they have these categories, such as generosity, discipline, patience, diligence, and concentration or the meditation or the samadhi. But the wisdom, without the wisdom, all the others are totally useless. Without the wisdom, all the sort of disciplines, practices, are mere tool to bind ourselves in this delusion again and again. Therefore, the wisdom is the utmost important, and Prajna Paramita Sutra is where you learn the wisdom. Trying to think of at least, what do you call it, begin the text a little bit. Okay. Having prepared a little bit with all the way the Buddhist, Indian Buddhist think, I guess we can try to sort of get into the text.
经过这个
Okay. The setting is kind of an important.
这个
First of all, we should consider this was a summit, a conference.
我们应该
And both attended by both Sharvakayana, members of the Sharvakayana and the Mahayana,
Yes.
Mahayana members. The summit was held in a place called Rajgir.
那这个论
And Mangada, which is where Rajgir is actually quite an important place for Buddhism, because the king of the Mangada was a big patron. And the king probably sponsored this summit, this conference.
That's-
And the purpose of the summit, what is it for?
那这
Of course, world peace,
当然
always, isn't it? And I'm not joking, by the way. It's meant for this. It's not really a summit. Is not meant. A summit was not gathered there to check whether the crows have the truth or not. Teeth, crows have teeth or not. It's not this kind of specific scientific research.
我们这不是在
What does the deers eat? Stuff like that. It's nothing to do with it. So really going to the root. What is it necessary to make us happy? And what do you call it? What is the root of all the suffering? Going right down to that. And the chief guest, I guess, is the Shakyamuni himself.
主
Speaker, the main guy, who, by the way, decided to not speak at all until the last minute.
结果
Shakyamuni was in Samanawani Jitingizin. He was in this deep samadhi called all illuminating, sort of Samanawani Jitingizin. I can already imagine what you are imagining.
除了人们就已经
I'm sure you are thinking, so Shakyamuni Buddha sitting like this.
你们一定想
Isn't it? This is what you are thinking. I'm very sure.
是不是？
Because the word samadhi is mentioned.
因为
Samadhi means zafu, sitting straight, breathing normally. Everything that is taught in Aman Resort.
禅定呢，
Of course, we never know. Maybe the all illuminating, that samadhi could be done by Shakyamuni, going through the watermelon, papaya, orange. We never know. Could be.
可是
But
你
not think, oh, he's not meditating, he's looking at the papaya, he's looking at the whatever. Anyway, Shakyamuni was in the samadhi of all eliminating.
就不论如何呢，是这种。
And then the next word is absolutely important.
那下一个字呢非常重要，
Not the next after. Okay. The next after is, they were illustrious, what do you call it, guests, or guests is not, the attendees, the participants of the conference. They were great people like Avalokiteshvara, like Shariputra, all of them are there.
人们现在说不是
This is important. I'm mixing up everywhere. I'm going back and forth. Okay. Among the attendees, among the participants, there were ghosts.
那这
Very important. We need to make note. Every time we forget this. Very important member of the participants. Nagas with their snakes. I don't know how the coiling somewhere sitting. Who knows? Just imagine the conference, the gods, the demigods, the ghosts, the nagas, Gandharvas, who have different needs, who don't eat or, they can't have a banquet like a normal conference, you understand, during their, they come from different places. They speak different language, they're all there. That's important that we know. And somewhere there, Avalokiteshvara was also in the state, looking, I don't know how to put this, meditating on emptiness, let's call it, out of lack of choice of words, meditating on emptiness.
那就在
Again, does not mean that he's sitting there like this.
可是再度的
Otherwise, Shariputra will say, hey, I have a question to ask you. Shariputra is not that rude.
因为他不是那么粗，
Avalokiteshvara may be roaming around, I don't know. Just completely normal.
没关
So
系。
nothing to do with emptiness, like closing eyes, staring, gazing, none of that. It indicates, the sutra indicates, because next minute we have Shariputra asking a question to him.
因为舍利
Now, this is the most important. The second most important I was going to tell you.
这个是
Sanjiji tu Tsarangdamba Shariputra Sambasambachambo. The curiosity of Shariputra is the blessing of the Buddha. This is so important. The curiosity,
就是
priceless curiosity, goodness.
无价的
If you can
好奇
imagine
如果诸位可以
Shariputra's curiosity give birth to 100,000 verses, 20,000 verses, 8,000 verses, and this. It's so amazing, isn't it? That curiosity, actually, you and I are also have a share in that, because it is our merit that Shariputra had that curiosity. Anyway, out of lack of choice of words again, we say, Sanjiji too, but by the blessing of the Buddha, Shariputra asked.
那也是
So, I don't know, I'm like, he must have asked Avalokiteshvara, so, how to go about this prajna paramitra, prajna paramita.
那么现在想象
And then Avalokiteshvara gave these lengthy answers.
观自在菩萨给
And this is what we are going to study. But to do that, now we need to again prepare with the words called truth. And I think you have already heard too much from me blabbering this morning. You are not fresh. You will not pay attention properly. So I'm not going to speak about the truth today. I'm going to let you ask questions first.
可是
Okay. To make our whatever gathering worthwhile, we will also meditate a little bit.
为了让我们的这个
So, I guess, yeah. So, ask me a few questions and then we will do a little bit of meditation. Anyway, I'll be talking about meditation.
人物
Please ask me some questions and try to relate to the text if possible,
So
as
when-
much as.
问题
And please don't ask me any Vajrayana related questions. Try, please. Buddha is the Buddha nature that we have.
真正的
The Buddha nature, because we have this Buddha nature, we do feel awkward sometimes.
因
Yes, most of the time we get annoyed when the carpet is stained by coffee, when the bank balance is low, a colleague is grumpy. I don't know. Most of the time, But other times, even everything is perfect. There's some sort of a, empty feeling, sort of, awkwardness. Is this all there is? Life? Isn't there something more important? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Is this all? The curiosity is kicking. This is because there's something called Buddha nature. So it could be, is this Buddha nature, is blessing of this Buddha nature, and there's also the Shakyamuni Buddha who's in the illuminating, samadhi, remember? Because he's the disciple, so there's also the reflection of that. So the both blessing comes together and the curiosity happens. And by the way, this I'm using a different commentary. The Prajnaparamita can be have many different commentary. One is very, very, very uttara. One is very, very Yogacharya way. Like what I've just told you, for instance, talks about Buddha nature a lot. Sorry, it's too long. I will now talk a little bit about meditation
那么现在讲一下这个禅坐，
to make this day worthwhile. Okay, what is the most important thing that we need to do?
我们
To realize the truth. Remember, that's the only thing we care. It's very important. We are not going to do meditation so that we will be more relaxed,
我们不是
so that we will have a better sleep. We are not going to do meditation so that we will have a better management. We are not also going to do meditation so that we will have better leadership. None of this matters. What do we need? We need to see the truth. Okay, what is the main opposition to see your truth? What is it that is always stopping you to see the truth?
什么东西一直让我们
There's many ways to put it, but I'm going to use a different way here.
有很
Each religion has their own Satan, right? Bad guy.
这坏，
Buddhists also have. Buddhist Satan is, this distraction.
佛教的
What stops you to see the truth? Getting distracted.
就是被
Okay, put it another way, having a habit,
或者
habitual patterns.
是分心散乱，
What is feeding the habit? Getting distracted.
那是长大呢就是分心散乱。
So, we should now have economy embargo on this. It's like, okay, this is what you want, the truth, right? What is stopping you? The habit. Who is feeding the habit? Distraction. So now we need to, sterilize the truth. Sterilize the distractions here. That's important. That's the principle of so-called meditation. Today we are going to talk a little bit.
每
Okay. So this time let's do this because I want to sort of really tell you the richness of Buddhist skillful means. Today we will let's look at things. Look at the back of somebody's neck
我们现在就看
or flowers,
看到
whatever. doesn't matter.
花，
Just be aware of that. Actually, if you can, be aware that you are doing that. Did you do it? Did you do it? Please don't sit.
不必做端正。
Don't sit straight, please. Really, it's so disheartening because I'm a Buddhist jihadi, by the way.
我们就说这
And every time when we talk about meditation, such a poverty mentality. This is the only way. Told you before. Do whatever you want. Scratch, yawn, do whatever you want, and just know that.
Yes.
Did you do that?
你们
You
这
have done meditation. I'm telling you.
太好了，怎么就
You-
告诉他？
You have to trust this.
你必须要，
You have done it.
你已经办
Yes, it is short,
是
but that's not wrong. Just be aware of whatever is happening right now. Whatever. By the way, I need to tell you this. Don't think that I'm teaching you Dzogchen or Mahamudra or none. Don't think that. I'm not qualified.
那么也不够，
I can't possibly, do in this kind of setting. Otherwise, Nepal is full of Dakinis who will just, shrink me to death.
而且
I'm smart enough not to do this. Every time when someone say, just know whatever is happening now, people see, oh, he's teaching Dzogchen.
每一次
All the Buddha's teachings, from the Sharvakayana to the Ati Yoga, there's not a single time where he taught, oh, dwell in the past, or dwell in the future. None. So just because he say, don't dwell in the past, don't dwell in the future, does not make something Dzogchen or Mahamudra. So please, don't you dare to say the Rinpoche taught Dzogchen. You haven't been taught by me today, Mahasandhi. You need to know this. Kiwi. Okay, anyway, so just knowing whatever is happening.
就是不管
Did you do that? If you have done it, you should consider you have done a good meditation. Now, don't think that you have to sort of stretch it for 24 hours. Don't think of that at the moment.
不要去
Why this is so important?
这个为
Because at that moment, when you are just conscious of whatever you are doing, at that very split moment, you are not distracted.
因为在那个
And that very small moment when you are not distracted, if you have managed to do that, it has weakened the habit a little bit. I think it's a bit like what do you call it, this watch that moves itself with a movement, then it sort of, does it still exist?
yes 就像那种
If you don't move it at all, it stops, right? Habit gets charged by distraction. And the less you have habit, more chance to see the truth.
习气
We will talk about that more.
我们会
We talked a lot today, so I think we should stop here today.
今天
We will continue Prajna Paramita, and you can do this knowing whatever you are doing as your practice.
作为你
And I will try to connect between the technique I gave you with the Prajna Paramita.
人
And anyway, all of this is all in the classic Buddhist text. I haven't made up anything. This is all credit to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and my teachers.
Yep.
And next 4 days also, I'm going to talk a little bit about. This has been sort of my new sort of recent sort of passion. I haven't found a right sort of title for this yet.
那么现
Right now I'm using teachings or techniques for bad Buddhists. I'm sure many of you are not diligent.
那么
I'm sure many of you will drink,
呃
casinos,
去赌场
do all sorts of strange things that I can't even think of. But you can still be Buddhist.
可是你
That's so important.
这是
I want to see Buddhists on Harley Davidson with the tattoos, with a very tight, leather jackets. I like them
那么就很想看
because I think it's so denigrating and so, so sad to always hear, oh, Buddhist, vegetarian, non-violent, monk, cave, retreat. All those things are dwindling the population of Buddhism. So for those who don't want to hear this kind of thing, you should have a nice earplug.